On the morning of September 11, 2001, the world was forever changed. What began as an ordinary day quickly turned into one of the most tragic and unforgettable moments in modern history. People across the globe watched in disbelief and horror as breaking news interrupted regular programming, and images of chaos began to fill television screens everywhere. In New York City, two commercial airplanes, hijacked by terrorists, crashed into the iconic Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. The impact was immediate and catastrophic, sending plumes of thick, dark smoke billowing into the sky and shattering the sense of safety that many had taken for granted. More than 3,000 innocent people lost their lives that day. Office workers, firefighters, police officers, and ordinary citizens who had simply started their day like any other. Families were torn apart, and communities across the nation were left grieving, lighting candles and gathering to remember those who would never return home. The attacks were sudden, brutal, and devastating. First responders rushed into danger, risking their own lives to save others, while the world watched the towers collapse in real time, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable destruction and heartbreak. Fear and sadness spread rapidly, reaching far beyond New York. People everywhere felt the shockwaves of that day, hugging loved ones tighter and gathering in public spaces to mourn together. The sense of vulnerability was overwhelming, and the world seemed to stand still in collective grief. In the days that followed, investigators worked tirelessly to uncover who's responsible. It soon became clear that the terrorist group al-Qaeda had orchestrated the attacks, sending shock and anger through the United States and around the world. Al-Qaeda's leaders, including Osama bin Laden, were found to be hiding in the remote mountains of Afghanistan, operating from secret camps and plotting further violence. The Taliban, a militant group that controlled Afghanistan at the time, refused to hand over the terrorists. Their defiance set the stage for a global response, as the world realized that inaction was not an option. This led to urgent meetings among world leaders and emergency sessions at the United Nations. The international community came together, determined to confront the threat of terrorism and support the United States in its time of need. Across continents, people held candlelight vigils, observed moments of silence, and illuminated landmarks in the colors of the American flag. The world mourned with Americans, showing solidarity and compassion in the face of tragedy. In the aftermath, there was a powerful sense of unity and urgency. People of all backgrounds came together, determined to support one another and to stand strong against fear and hatred. Leaders around the globe promised to find those responsible and to do everything possible to prevent such terror from ever happening again. New security measures were introduced, and nations pledged to work together in the fight against terrorism. This tragic day set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the world. The United States launched a military campaign in Afghanistan, beginning a conflict that would last for 2 decades and impact millions of lives. The war that followed changed the course of history, affecting soldiers, civilians, and families on both sides of the world. For many, the memories of September 11th remain vivid, a reminder of loss, resilience, and the enduring hope for peace. The legacy of that day continues to shape our world, leaving lessons and memories that will be carried by generations to come. In October 2001, the world watched as the United States, together with a coalition of allies, launched Operation Enduring Freedom. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in Afghanistan's history. The attacks of September 11th had shocked the globe, and the response was swift. American forces, supported by a broad international coalition, crossed into Afghanistan with a clear mission in mind. The mission was simple in words, but complex in reality. Defeat al-Qaeda, the terrorist group responsible for the attacks, and remove the Taliban regime that had sheltered them. Military leaders pored over maps, strategizing how to dismantle terrorist networks hidden in Afghanistan's rugged landscape. Soldiers prepared for a campaign that would test their resolve and endurance. Troops from many nations answered the call. The United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and others sent their best men and women. Together, they formed a powerful coalition, united by a common goal. Fighter jets roared overhead, signaling the start of a massive international effort. The world's attention was fixed on Afghanistan as these forces landed, ready to face the unknown. As helicopters touched down and boots hit the ground, the coalition's presence grew. Soldiers stepped onto Afghan soil, carrying not just weapons, but also the hopes of their nations and the promise of a new beginning for Afghanistan. Supplies and equipment poured in, setting the stage for a long campaign. Their immediate goal was to find and capture terrorist leaders, disrupt their networks, and prevent future attacks. Day and night, troops moved through villages and mountains, searching compounds and planning operations. Every mission was a step toward making the world a safer place, but the challenges were immense. In the early days, many Afghans welcomed the arrival of international forces. After years of war and oppression, there was hope for peace and stability. The Taliban, caught off guard by the speed and strength of the coalition, retreated from major towns and cities. Some fighters melted away, blending into the countryside or fleeing to remote areas. Al-Qaeda's leaders, including Osama bin Laden, vanished into the forbidding mountains. The caves and valleys of places like Tora Bora became their hiding spots, making the hunt for them even more difficult. The terrain itself became an enemy, offering countless places to disappear. Despite rapid advances and early victories, not all enemies were captured. Some slipped through the cracks, escaping into neighboring countries or hiding among the population. The coalition gained ground quickly, but the fight was far from over. For many Afghans, this was a time of hope and possibility. Children smiled at soldiers, and families began to rebuild homes destroyed by years of conflict. Schools reopened, and women returned to classrooms, dreaming of a brighter future. But the optimism was tempered by the harsh realities on the ground. The landscape was unforgiving, and the missions were long and exhausting. Soldiers faced not only a determined enemy, but also the challenges of a foreign land, harsh weather, difficult terrain, and the constant uncertainty of what lay ahead. The future of Afghanistan was uncertain. The challenges ahead were immense, and the road to peace and stability would be long and difficult. Yet, in those first days, there was a sense that change was possible, and that a new era for Afghanistan and the world had begun. By the end of 2001, the Taliban had lost control of Afghanistan's main cities. A new government began to take shape. Supported by the United Nations and international partners, Hamid Karzai became the country's first leader in this new era. People in Kabul and other cities celebrated. Girls started going back to school. Music, sports, and television returned after years of strict Taliban rule. There was a feeling that change was possible. Many Afghans wanted a better life for their families. International aid poured in to help rebuild roads, hospitals, and schools. Hopes were high that Afghanistan could finally know peace. But rebuilding was not easy. There were deep wounds from decades of conflict. The road ahead would require patience, courage, and support from the world. In the early years, billions of dollars went into Afghanistan. Roads, schools, and hospitals were built. New leaders were elected. Women gained more rights and jobs. Many believed Afghanistan could change for the better, yet progress was slow. Some areas remained unsafe. Corruption and poverty made life hard for many people. Not all promises were kept, and some dreams faded with time. Foreign soldiers worked with Afghan police and army. They trained together, hoping to build a strong force to protect the country. Success stories happened, but so did setbacks. Still, many Afghans did not give up. Teachers taught children in rough classrooms. Doctors treated patients in busy clinics. Hope remained, even when life was tough. As years passed, the Taliban began to return. They fought back with bombings and attacks. No place felt completely safe. Schools, markets, and government buildings were often targets. International forces faced new challenges. Roadside bombs and ambushes put soldiers and civilians in danger. The war became more complex and difficult to win. Some Afghans were caught in the middle. They wanted peace but lived with fear. Villages saw families torn apart by violence. The dream of stability slipped farther away. The war dragged on. Each year brought more loss, pain, and questions about when it would finally end. For Afghan families, daily life was hard. Many lost loved ones to violence. Children grew up hearing the sound of helicopters, not just birds or music. Some families had to leave their homes to escape fighting. Women and girls faced special challenges. In some places, it was dangerous to attend school or work. Still, many were brave and tried to build better futures. Farmers struggled to grow crops on lands full of mines. City dwellers worried about jobs and safety. Many Afghans helped each other, sharing food or shelter when times were hard. Despite hardship, Afghan people showed great strength. Their hopes and stories are an important part of understanding the war's impact. Over 20 years, Thousands of soldiers from many countries served in Afghanistan. Some stayed for months, others for years. Many missed weddings, birthdays, and everyday life at home. Soldiers built friendships with Afghan partners. They helped build schools and delivered supplies. But they also faced danger every day. Some were injured, and many lost friends on the battlefield. Back home, families waited and worried. The war touched people far from Afghanistan too. Communities honored those who served and grieved for those who did not return. The sacrifice of soldiers is remembered in many ways. Their dedication, courage, and stories are a part of the war's long history. In the year 2020, after nearly 2 decades of conflict, the United States and the Taliban reached a historic agreement in Doha. This deal was meant to bring an end to America's longest war, a conflict that had shaped the lives of millions and changed the course of Afghanistan's history. The signing ceremony was filled with cautious optimism, as diplomats from both sides shook hands, signaling the beginning of a new chapter. For many, it was a moment that seemed almost unimaginable just a few years earlier. Following the agreement, plans were quickly set in motion for international forces to withdraw from Afghanistan. NATO allies and US troops began the complex process of packing up equipment, dismantling bases, and preparing for departure. The logistics were immense, involving thousands of soldiers and tons of military hardware. For the foreign troops who had spent years in Afghanistan, it was a bittersweet farewell, filled with memories of sacrifice, camaraderie, and loss. By August 2021, the last foreign soldiers were making their final preparations to leave Afghan soil. Scenes of military convoys rolling out and soldiers boarding aircraft at Kabul airport marked the end of an era. The departure was swift and, for many, surreal, a moment that had been anticipated for years, yet still felt sudden and uncertain. As international forces withdrew, the Taliban advanced rapidly across the country. In a matter of days, they entered Kabul and reclaimed control over Afghanistan. The speed of their takeover stunned the world and left many Afghans in shock, unsure of what the future would bring. Across the nation, fear and anxiety spread. Many Afghans watched the news with worried faces, uncertain about what the return of the Taliban would mean for their rights, their families, and their way of life. The memories of past hardships resurfaced, and hope mingled with dread. In the days that followed, desperate crowds surged toward Kabul airport. Thousands of men, women, and children gathered at the gates, hoping for a chance to escape. Some climbed fences, others waited for hours in the heat, clutching their belongings and their loved ones, praying for a way out. The world watched in real time as military and civilian planes took off, carrying soldiers and a fortunate few Afghan families to safety. US soldiers worked tirelessly to guide evacuees onto flights, trying to help as many as possible before the final deadline. The images of evacuation became symbols of both hope and heartbreak. It was a time of profound sadness and worry. Tears flowed as families said hurried goodbyes, not knowing if they would ever see each other again. The uncertainty was overwhelming, and the pain of separation was felt by all. Many Afghans gazed at the departing planes, wondering what the future would hold for those who stayed behind. Questions hung in the air about safety, freedom, and the fate of their homeland. Some Afghans chose to remain. Determined to face whatever came next, they clung to hope, trying to rebuild their lives amid uncertainty. Daily routines resumed, but the atmosphere was changed. Quieter, more cautious, yet still resilient. The end of the war did not bring an end to hardship. Many families found themselves displaced, living in refugee camps or struggling to survive in a battered economy. The scars of conflict were everywhere, visible in damaged buildings and in the faces of those who had lost so much. Yet despite the pain and uncertainty, the events of 2021 marked a turning point for Afghanistan. It was the end of one era and the beginning of another, a moment that would shape the lives of Afghans and all those connected to their story for years to come. The war in Afghanistan lasted 20 years. It changed millions of lives, both in Afghanistan and around the world. There was great loss, but also stories of hope, courage, and kindness. Many people still struggle with what happened. Some wonder if things could have been different. But it is important to remember the lessons learned about the cost of war, the strength of ordinary people, and the need for peace. The memories of those lost, the dreams of Afghan families, and the sacrifices of soldiers should never be forgotten. Their stories teach us about bravery and the importance of helping others. As the world moves forward, we carry these lessons with us. We honor the past and look for ways to build a safer, kinder future for everyone.